And welcome back. Let's dispel one myth right off the bat. Some say you can smoke a pipe to scare off mosquitoes. Somehow I really doubt that. But I'm not much of a bait anyways. There are people whom, mosquitoes just love. They bite them constantly. Not me. You see, I got ways back, ways away from everybody. And by the way, getting out of the swamp was, quite an experience in itself. Because, you can see I'm ill-equipped. Jeans, t-shirt, and rather soft. I wouldn't call those boots shoes. And here I am at the swamp, hopping from one rotten log to another. With a full pipe. Of course I couldn't smoke it. That's why you always need to buy, well, first of all, you need to dress for the occasion. And second of all, if you buy something, just buy something sturdy. You see, when I was buying a tripod, you may remember that the tripod was just the cheapest thing I could find. Water. Cheapest thing I could find. And, a couple of minutes ago I had to lean my whole weight on it. Use it as a staff and a probe, probing the damp soil and the mud. Anyways, I'm pretty of course I'm not dry by any means, and my jeans are, I need to wash those. Cannot go out in the city. But on the other hand, I've had myself an adventure. A small adventure, but an adventure nonetheless. I love these small, mishaps that always seem to happen to me. I'm like, if you remember, there was a cartoon, The Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack, about, an old pirate and a small boy, like a cabin boy, who was always like, adventure! That's me. 34, and I'm still overjoyed by small adventures. And that's good, I think. Anyways, while I was climbing out of the swamp, I remembered that... Take a look at this. Isn't that beautiful? Just... Sorry, it's tilted, because I have to tilt the tripod. Getting out of the swamp, I remembered an Instagram post, of all the things, by Chad Yarborough. I talked about him, mentioned him in the previous video. He posts photographs of covers of books that he's reading, and this time it was The Big Sleep by Raymond Chandler, and I just remember that Chandler is one of my favorite authors, although I'm not a fan of, the hard-boiled detective, and the detective genre in general. But his approach to words and playing with words is just marvelous. I think, don't quote me on this one, but I think people are actually studying Chandler in, universities in the US. I see the reason why they do so. It's just marvelous. As far as I remember, I haven't read him in original. I read a translation, and I actually learned about Chandler and started reading Chandler when I was very, very young. I think preschool or early school, I think. When myself and my family were each summer we were taking a vacation, sort of camping trip near the Volga River. So there's a night or 2 nights on the train. Then we go through the good graces of our friend. We used to have a friend out there. My grandfather had a friend out there. And he would provide, I think, the car. And we'd camp out on the shore, on the bank of a river named Akhtuba. That's it runs parallel to the Volga River, so it's it's the south. Pretty hot. Marvelous fishing, and boats. We don't have kayaks, pipes and kayaks. We'll find it interesting. We don't have kayaks here in Russia. What we have, well, these are the same boats that are rubber and canvas on the aluminum frame that you row like this instead of a canoe, which is rowed like this. And those are called baydarkas in Russia. Baydarka is a single word. It's actually a misspelling, I think, from the title of a similar boat of the native people of Chukotka. And we had 2 of those, so that was just an adventure for a guy in his teens. That's just the coolest, I think. No fishing, swimming, just rowing. If someone's interested, I can show you the fish hooks and the appliances that we used to catch fish. Probably unlike everything you've seen, how do you catch a catfish at night, or something like that. And of course there is this myriad of stories, like my grandfather once caught a seagull while he was fishing, because she thought that the bait was a fish and snatched it. Another time he caught a codfish as long as he was tall. I have a photo of him holding it like this. It's just, and the tail is dangling and touching the ground. Catfish the size of a man. People in the Russian countryside still believe that the catfish is able to eat a human alive. That's probably a horrible death. Ugh. Being drowned by a big fish, freshwater fish. Ugh. There were also gruesome tales, like when my grandfather and my mother were at the boat, this Baidarka, and they were fishing, and when the fish breaks free of the the metal bait, I don't know how to call that, sorry, this bait just snaps back and flies, and it has two hooks like this big, triple hooks with barbs, and if you by any means are within the trajectory, is that a word? I don't know. So if you got hit by this, there's a chance you got the barb and the hook will get stuck in you, like deep, and there's no real way to get it out unless you go to the hospital, which is miles and miles away, or you pull it out yourself. My grandfather used to do that. He once caught one, I think, in his leg, and he just popped it out, tore it out with a chunk of his flesh. So this time, he's with my mom, who is like a teenager. I wasn't present, thank God. Sure enough, the fish yanks itself free. This thing flies off, and it launches himself in my mother's arm. She told me that actually. So this thing lands in her arm, gets stuck in her arm, and you cannot really reach another person in the boat, because there's a place at the front, place at the back, and the luggage compartment in the center. So my grandfather cannot reach her, so he just turns and yells, "Pull!" And my grandfather could be really, really tough sometimes. So he yelled with such ferocity and attitude that my mother automatically took the hook and yanked it out of herself with a good chunk of flesh. And it all happened just like that. The hook gets stuck, he yells, she pulls, and all the tears, everything came after. They bandaged her up, and they finished the vacation. So Soviet tourism. Sometimes it's fun and games, sometimes it's pretty hardcore, let me tell you that. That tells you something about my grandfather, and it also tells you something about my mother, who she looks like her father, like my grandfather. She's tough, believe me. I don't know why I'm telling you this. Probably that's the wild Atlantic. And there's another story that happened before I was around. I think my mother, my grandmother, my great-grandfather and great-grandmother were taking the vacation at roughly the same area. What they didn't know was there was an epidemic at the time, and people were quarantined. So they got quarantined at some, I don't know, some tourist spot. So an organized camp for tourists. They were placed there, and said the authorities told them they could not leave for a couple of weeks. You know, no biggie. Am I right? You know, people are... You just take the vacation at the selected spot. But at the same time, this area suffered from the invasion of tarantula spiders, which just so happened to be one of, I think, 2 species of deadly spiders in Russia. They are sort of... They live in the ground, they dig little holes, primarily in sandy ground. And, you know, one bite and you're pretty much gone. So imagine yourself with your whole family. Idiots. Imagine yourself with your whole family being stuck at one spot, invaded by tarantula spiders. And you cannot leave, you know. You cannot scare them away. There are no, you know, repellents or, you know, nothing. Only thing you can do is just, you know, hold your ground. Look where you put your feet and your arms, and go through your tents and your clothes and your sleeping bags feverishly a couple of times throughout the day. Because, you know, if one of those critters crawls in, you are guaranteed to get a deadly bite at night. So there we have it. Just a couple of tales from my ancestors. And I'm done. Would you believe that? I'm done. This bowl is finished. Anyways, I'll probably film another video when I get back home. I remembered a suitably controversial topic, so that will be a tough one. I think I cannot do that from out here. So I'll get back home and get back to filming, I think. Thanks very much for dropping by. Sorry for this sort of inconsistent, you know, trip down the memory lane. Thanks for dropping by. And see you soon, people. Goodbye.